This world of fantasy is filled with different beings such as beasts, fairies, spirits, and even humans. However, the creature that stands above all is the dragon. It is also very rare before one encounters a dragon. Most of the beings have a place they call home. We see a slime couple checking a house out. After being informed of the perks by an elf, who is also a real estate agent, the couple decides to rent the place. Elsewhere, a dragon, Letty, is kicked out of the family because some thieves stole a dragon egg on his watch. Letty is seen standing alone on the plain lands, thinking of how he will be turned into a meat snack if a hunter finds him. Letty is not confident in himself because his stats are so low. The worst one of all his stats is his luck. His luck is running on -7, and this spells trouble for the young dragon. Letty realizes that the only way he can survive out here in the world is to find himself a home. He begins his journey to find himself a nice and peaceful home to live in. Letty soon finds some dwarves and asks them to build him a house because dwarves are known to build houses. His assumption turns out to be wrong when the dwarves capture him and throw him in a cage. The dwarves start to think of ways to eliminate Letty and sell his organs and body parts. Letty starts to think of ways to escape to avoid being the dwarves' meal. He tricks the dwarves into believing someone is after their gold and quickly uses the opportunity to break out of his cage. Letty runs as fast as his legs could carry him just to stay alive. After his escape from the dwarves, he finds some harpies. The harpies tell Letty that he can live with them in their nest. It doesn't take long for Letty to realize that it won't be possible for him because he doesn't have the skill to fly yet. The harpies then send him to the goblins to see if they can help him. Letty finds the goblins, but they want to make him their food. He quickly tells them that the harpies sent him. He tells them his plight, but they too cannot help him with his lack of accommodation. Letty finds a Saharagan that invites him to his home inside the lake, but Letty realizes that he can't swim either. The creature then tells him to head east, where he will find an elf, Diria, who is into real estate. Letty sets out to find the elf and unfortunately stumbles upon a team of heroes. The heroes start to bully the dragon until someone shows up and defeats the hero. Turns out Letty's savior is the elf he is looking for. With this, Letty and Diria begin on the epic journey to find Letty a home. Diria tells Letty that he has the option to buy a house, build a house, or rent one. Letty checks out Diria's card and discovers he is given a Dark Lord title. Diria says they need to find Letty a home where the heroes will not be able to disturb him again. Diria adds that heroes are more fearsome and menacing than hunters. Diria informs Letty that it is time to start looking for a suitable home for him. The elf teleports them to a temple where Letty can stay. Upon entering, the elf tells the dragon that there are several traps inside the building to prevent heroes or hunters from disturbing Letty if he should decide to stay there. However, Letty changes his mind when he can't help but fall into every single one of the traps that have been set inside the house. While inside the house, some hunters find them, but they are no match for the powerful elf who in no time wipes them. After leaving the house, Diria tells Letty that the next house they are going to check out has been built over 200 years ago. However, there is an upside. He will never get lonely while staying at the house. Diria teleports them to the mansion of the dead. Letty is starting to fall in love with the house until he discovers that he will be living with ghosts. Letty gets scared and screams at the top of his lungs. Later on, Letty finds out that the owner of the house is a ghost by the name of Lord Samuel. Lord Samuel was betrayed many years ago by his close friends. He eliminated himself, and he and his followers came back as ghouls to wipe out all who have betrayed him. Letty sees that Lord Samuel is a nice person, but he can't just stay there because he is scared of ghosts. Before leaving, Samuel and Diria have a conversation about a dragon who was once his friend. Samuel says goodbye to Letty and wishes him luck on his adventure to find a home. The journey to find Letty a home continues, and Diria says he needs to make a stop somewhere before they continue. When Letty hears that they are going to the crone's lair, he gets scared again. The elf shows Letty a satchel that is capable of holding different items. Diria reveals that he has their bed stored inside the satchel. Shortly afterward, the duo arrives at the cavern of Abuela. The elf tells Letty that the sisters living inside the cave have been in business for over 1,000 years. The elf introduces Letty to the Grayi sisters, who are skillful craftsmen and frequent buyers. Letty is stunned when he enters their domain. There are lots of stuff in their possession that Letty could practically ask for anything he wants and would get it. Letty sees a fireplace that he loves, and the elf suggests he could build a house with a fireplace. The elf takes Letty to a location where he can build his house. To cover the cost of the house, Letty brings out his baby tooth. The elf says dragon teeth are expensive, but Letty's baby teeth don't count as much. However, the elf tells Letty that he should not worry about the cost for now. Diria says the cost of the house will sort itself out later on. Elf summons a group of gnomes and ogres to help build the house. The group soon gets down to construction, and the dragon tries to help, but he has no construction skills. Soon afterward, Letty's new house is ready. Diria then tells Letty that all that is left is for the heroes to come and attack. They will defeat the heroes and collect their gear. The gears would be sold and used as gradual payments for the cost of the house. The elf summons some beasts to help in providing security for the house. Diria says he needs to leave, and he comes back at intervals to check on the dragon. Later on, Letty is relaxing in the room when he hears struggling outside. He gets there to discover that the guards have just defeated the heroes looking for him. They collect their equipment and send them away. Rumors start to spread that the dragon defeated the heroes. Troops of vulnerable beings start to troop into the house to make it their safe haven. They also give Letty the title of the Great Flame Dragon Lord. All these are so overwhelming for Letty, and he leaves the house. The elf soon finds him, and Letty says all he needs is just a quiet place to live a peaceful life. Letty adds that he is well aware that everyone means well, but he can't cope with the pressure. The elf tells Letty that he is willing to find him a home, even if it takes 100 years to do so. Dirya reveals that his last dragon friend also took so long before getting a home of his choice. Elves age slowly, so age doesn't affect Dirya. Letty finally uses Dirya's magic to say goodbye to all the inhabitants of his house. To find Letty a peaceful house, the elf takes him to the icy plains. He makes a coat for Letty to keep him warm in the harsh weather. Dirya tells the dragon that the environment is home to the Yetis. Dirya informs Letty that he would have to build his own igloo. Letty is handed a shovel and a building plan to follow. This means that there is no cost of building. Shortly afterward, Letty is done with the construction of his igloo. The elf tells him that he needs to go and let the dragon try to survive on his own. Dirya promises to be back in the next 3 days to check on him. While our young dumb dragon is gathering firewood, he sees some deer and concludes that they will be good for dinner. Well, the problem is that he can't even hunt. This turns out bad for him when the deers chase him around the plains. He tries his luck against other animals, but the story remains the same. It started to snow, and Letty couldn't find his way home. He gets stuck in the ice where he slept off. During his sleep, he sees himself inside a warm igloo, but he soon realizes that it was all in his head. Upon waking up, Letty sees an egg, and the urge to eat it sets in, but he manages to control himself and decides to keep the egg. Suddenly, the ice breaks off and Letty is stranded in the sea. A whale appears behind him and swallows him. Letty wakes up to see Davy Jones beside him. Davy Jones tells him that he is inside the whale. Davy Jones shows him around, and Letty concludes that the insides of the whale actually make a nice home because they have all they need. However, Letty starts thinking of Dirya and how to return the egg to its parents. Davy Jones tells him that the only way out of the whale is through the blowhole. Letty is strapped to a chair, and when the whale sneezes, he is thrown out. Letty lands on an iceberg and immediately starts to get lonely again. He sees a cute seal beside him and decides to not eat the seal. Turns out the seal is Dirya when he transforms back into himself. The elf says a Selkie gave him the pelt that allows him to turn into a seal when he wants. Dirya informs the dragon that he has seen that Letty does not have the survivalist instinct in him. He is just too sweet to survive in the ice plains. Later on, the egg hatches and a little bird emerges. The bird sees Letty and calls him Papa. After the egg hatches, the elf teleports them out of the ice plains to another location that he believes would be good for Letty. Dirya informs Letty that the bird has imprinted on him, and that's the reason he's calling him Papa. The bird is a Hraesvelgr chick. Hraesvelgr birds are giant eagles with an affinity for cold environments. To make the chick comfortable, Dirya teleports them to the ice plains to gather some ice. Letty tells the elf that he might not be cut to take good care of the chick. They decide to try and find the chick a new home. They go to a communal community where there are diverse beings living there to find the chick, a parent who is ready to adopt him. The community is safe because the landlords take care of any threat that might come knocking. They get to the first candidate's home, but the chick makes a loud noise that makes the candidates reject the offer to adopt him. On to the second candidate, they find out that she is not suitable too because she is very aggressive. The third candidate also proves to be a no-no because his children are too aggressive. Letty runs into 2 of the Korpukukur that came to live in the house he built earlier on. They offer to adopt the chick, but when Letty realizes that they came to sell a wild fowl that they killed, he changes his mind and runs off. They find a 4th candidate, but Letty is not comfortable with the way the candidate is planning to raise the chick. After failing to get a capable person to raise the chick, Letty sits down to think of what to do next. The elf informs him that the birds usually lay their eggs inside the snow, and the chick must have drifted off from the others. Dirya says if Letty hadn't found the egg, some other creatures would have eaten it. The elf suggests that Letty raise the chick as its own. Letty finally agrees to raise the chick when he realizes that he would actually do anything to protect it. The elf asks him what he plans to name the chick. Letty calls the chick Pip because of the sound it makes. The elf informs Letty that they will have to start looking for family-friendly houses. Up next, Letty has spent all the money he has to buy food for Pip, and he is now broke. The elf says Letty will have to do some jobs to earn money. He informs Letty that the demand for dragons is high in the market. Dirya takes them to the trade market of Pecunia. Letty is scared when he gets there, but the elf assures him that no one can hurt when he is inside the market. Anyone who tries to commit any crime is usually jailed. Dirya takes Letty to a manager, Arman, to help him look for a job or jobs to do. Letty is given the job to cut blocks from trees and rocks. After so much work and stress, Letty is paid just a small amount of money. Letty is then given another job at a motel. However, all the customers run away when they see a dragon as the receptionist. Letty cries for another job, and Dirya suggests that they find one that only a dragon can do. A mage hires Letty to work for him. The mage has promised to summon a dragon for his next performance, and that's where Letty comes in. At the performance, Letty shows up as planned, but the spectators demand a demonstration of his power. Letty is about to be embarrassed, but Pip saves the day when he gives out a loud roar that knocks all of them down. Because of this great performance, Letty is paid a handsome reward. Later on, a magician says he needs a dragon. He wants to test if his new spell will pierce the dragon's body. Letty is scared that he will die from the experiment, but unknown to him, the elf has put a defense spell on him. While the experiment is going on, an old acquaintance of Diarrhea, Lilith, arrives to have a chat with him. They talk about the days when the elf was chosen as the Dark Lord. Apparently, Diarrhea was chosen by the beasts as the Dark Lord. The first Dark Lord was in charge of unifying the beasts, and this has made him the title a very important one. However, Diarrhea refused the title when he was chosen. He believes the title is now a figurehead and doesn't have any important role again. They forced the title on the elf, but he managed to escape from the castle on the day of his inauguration. It is revealed that Diarrhea's former dragon friend is black, while our young sweet Letty is red. Moments later, the experiment is concluded, and Letty receives a good payment for the job. A man comes over to Letty and asks if he can do a job for him on the outskirts of the town. Meanwhile, Letty has informed the elf that humans are gathering outside the town after hearing that a dragon is in the market. They have plans to capture the dragon outside the town because they can't do so when they are inside the trading center. Letty follows the man to the outskirts of the town and soon finds himself surrounded. Letty and Pip are pushed into a cage and driven off to an unknown location. Letty finds himself in a cage and starts to panic. He tries to cut open the cage with his teeth, but it doesn't work out. He is soon approached by an Ouroboros named Steve. Steve opens the cage and Letty is surprised that it was never locked. Steve takes Letty to meet the rest of the prisoners. A short introduction occurs and Steve explains the details of the situation to him. He is informed that the guards are nice to them, and they even play cards together. The guards also help them take care of any heroes that might want to enter the area. He is taken around the prison and Letty is surprised that the prisoners are so comfortable that they don't even want to escape. Moments later, the bell for work is rung. Letty soon finds out that the prison is also an arena. Letty is to fight the Skeleton Brothers. The match begins and Letty starts to run around the arena until he luckily swings his tail and breaks the Skeleton Brothers. He is declared the winner of the match, and he later finds out that the Skeleton Brothers can just put themselves back together. Steve then informs Letty that the Margrave that owns the arena treats them very well. All their matches are also fixed to bring more profit for the Margrave. Shortly afterward, Letty thinks Pip is missing until one of the guards appears with Pip. The guard tells him that Pip went for an ice-cold bath. Before sleeping, Letty believes that Diarrhea will be looking for him. Unknown to him, Diarrhea is out there having fun. 10 days later, the guards come over to inform the beasts that the kind Margrave is dead. The eldest son has inherited the estate and has decided to eliminate all the beasts. He has hired mercenaries to do the job for him. Steve says there is an aqueduct that runs under the arena that leads outside. They are to follow the aqueduct and escape. However, they will leave behind a distraction team to allow the rest of the group to escape without any hitch. Letty starts to panic when he is selected to be on the distraction team. The mercenaries soon enter and the distraction team begins their work. They take care of the mercenaries, and when they are about to escape, they realize that there are still mercenaries left. They are surrounded and about to be harmed when Diarrhea arrives and wipes the assailants. Diarrhea helps everyone to escape the arena. The guards also go with the beasts, and when Diarrhea asks if Letty wants to follow them, he says no. He plans to find a nice home to raise Pip. Diarrhea also does his job as the Demon Lord and has reported the new Margrave to the other lords for punishment. The party continues their journey, but Letty begins to suffer from exhaustion. Diarrhea suggests he takes a nap, and he concurs. While he is sleeping, Pip asks Letty if he can explore the surroundings, and Diarrhea allows him. While he is playing around, Pip finds a leprechaun crying because he lost his friend and home. Pip helps the leprechaun to find his friend, and he also helps them secure a shoe to live in. The leprechauns are grateful, and they thank Pip for his help. Letty later wakes up and starts looking for Pip, believing that he is lost. Moments later, Pip returns back home, and Letty couldn't be happier. Diarrhea says Pip will soon be old enough to regulate his own body temperature and won't need Letty to provide ice for him again. Letty scolds Diarrhea for allowing Letty to go out on his own, but Diarrhea points out that Letty is being overprotective. He needs to leave Pip and let him explore his surroundings a little. Diarrhea then tells Letty and Pip about his childhood story. He says the elves retreated to the branches of the World Tree many years ago to avoid intervening in human affairs. Diarrhea begins to narrate that he was a boy who has always loved to gain more knowledge. After his parents saw that he was too curious, he was sent to the Great Serpent, Jormungandr. The Great Serpent is to become his master, and Diarrhea had to live in the harsh weather conditions of the north. He starts to learn about philosophy, biology, and other things that are there to know. However, a problem arose. His master always destroyed his house due to its enormous size. Diarrhea tried to use different building materials to try and see which one would withstand his master's strength, but he never found any. Even the Graye sisters provided him with building materials, but none seemed to be durable enough. He finally found a solution when he decided to use lighter building materials to build his house on the serpent's head. This finally proved to be the only solution to his house problem. Later on, he was inducted as the Dark Lord, and not long after, the Black Dragon came knocking. Black Dragon introduced himself as Varney and said he has been looking for the Dark Lord. Diaria said he has heard of Varney because most people are scared of him. Varney informed Diaria that he wants a house and he should help him out. Diaria initially refused, but later agreed when his master told him to help the dragon out. His master hoped that he would be able to see the world much better during his journey with Varney. At the start of their journey, the dragon and elf make a pit stop at one of the heroes' guilds. The dragon wipes all of them, and the elf uses his magic to send the men to the church. When the report came out, it was written that the elf was the one that defeated the heroes. Diaria suggests that Varney uses the guild as his home, but he refuses. This started their 100-year journey of looking for a suitable house. Soon afterward, the duo decides to attack all the forts and castles that they see to be able to find a suitable building material for Varney. Diaria hope that with all their destructive experiment, they will know the type of materials to use in building Varney a house. Diaria records all the experiment results inside his book for future reference. Later on, Diaria and Varney get into a verbal altercation. Diaria complains that Varney doesn't appreciate all he does for him. During their altercation, Diaria realizes that all Varney wants is a good home to raise his family. Varney says he is getting old, and he needs to raise a family of his own. However, he can't do that in a poor house. He needs a durable and comfortable house to raise his family. Upon hearing this, the elf realizes that Varney is actually a good person, but he is just acting aggressively because of the pressure on him. The elf then agrees to stay with him till he gets a house of his choice. He also wants to use the opportunity to learn more about the world. Letty voices out his wish to find a good home too. Up next, it is revealed that a skilled hunter and his apprentice have been tracking Letty. They're following his trail and they almost caught up to him at the temple, but they were too late. They later find the house he built but abandoned for the other vulnerable beasts. They hear the guards in charge of security at the house talking about how Letty has gone to prepare himself for world domination. They add that Letty is so powerful, and just his breath can destroy a whole castle. The hunter hears them calling Letty the Flame Dragon Lord. This creates more urgency in him. The hunter immediately visits a guild and asks the secretary to print posters and send them to every other guild. He wants them to be careful of Letty because he is planning to dominate the world. Later on, the hunter finally catches up to Letty. He and his assistant lay in an ambush and are waiting for Letty to show up so they can capture him. They see some bandits passing by, and Letty stops them. The hunter decides not to attack Letty when he witnesses him burn the bandits to a crisp with his dragon fire. The hunter and his assistant leave and promise to capture the dragon later. The camera then shifts to where Letty is standing, and we finally get to find out that Diaria was the one who created the fire with his magic. He is also aware that the hunter has been following them for some time now. Letty and Diaria decide to check what the bandits were transporting. They open one of the crates to find a girl that was kidnapped by the bandits. The girl wakes up and screams when she sees a dragon standing right in front of her. She accuses Letty of kidnapping her, but Diaria informs her that he has taken care of the bandits that kidnapped her. The girl introduces herself as the daughter of an important person, but they couldn't catch most of what she said because it was too long. The girl tells the elf that she does not wish to return home. She wants the elf to find her a glass house that also contains a bath. Diaria accepts her request and takes her to a cave with a natural bath, but she gets angry that Diaria doesn't understand her. Diaria begins to take her to several locations with a bath, but she doesn't seem to be okay with any of the choices she is given. Later on, Letty prepares a bath for her in his cooking pot. While she's having her bath, the girl tells Letty that she ran away from home because her father ate her cupcake without her permission. Letty is taken aback at how spoiled the girl is. The girl then formally thanks Letty for saving her from the bandits. Moments later, a group of heroes appears from the other side. It was them who later reveals that the girl is a princess. They believe that Letty kidnapped her, but Diaria arrives and takes care of them. The girl tells Letty and Diaria that she told them about being a princess, but they didn't pay attention. She then tells the party that they can call Nell. Letty is busy trying to sort out his next tour location when a djinn from the non-human Internal Revenue Office arrives. He informs Letty that he needs to pay income tax. Letty has left home and has been independent but hasn't paid any tax. The djinn says there is a tax office nearby where he can file his tax report. Letty gets to the office, and he is asked to fill out a form. When Nell sees his stat card, she almost faints. She can't believe that Letty actually calls himself a dragon with such poor stats. While filling out the form, Diaria tells him not to forget about the house he built. Diaria tells the djinn that Letty built the house, but he has given it out. After going through all his documents and the properties in his name, he is informed how much his tax will be. The djinn then informs him that there are allocations that are also set aside for parents and Letty is eligible. He will be given child allowances to be able to take good care of Pip. Later on, Diaria informs Letty that the next property they will be checking is under the Royal Capital Sewer System. This means their next location is directly under Nell's city. They soon get to the dungeon which they want to inspect. Diaria says humans built the dungeons years ago for heroes to have their training inside. Diaria also adds that Letty would need to become a public servant if he is to live in the dungeon. Letty is scared that he will run into heroes inside the dungeon, but Diria says the dungeon is closed for the day. Letty, Diria, and Nell enter the dungeon to explore. The dungeon is so big that it took them a long time to find the boss area. They finally find it, and they discover that they need some stone reliefs to even open the door. Nell sees a stone sitting on a stool and concludes that it is one of the stones they need to open the door to the boss's area. The moment she lifts the stone, the ceiling starts to come down on them. Thankfully, Pip manages to find a secret passageway out of the room, and the part narrowly escapes being crushed to death. Letty and Nell see a ladder and decide to follow it. They get to the top, and Nell freezes up when it dawns on her that they just made their way into the royal palace. After Letty and Nell make their way into the castle, they find out that most of the knights and the king have gone on a mission to find Neil. Some group heroes find Letty and start chasing him around the castle, but Diria shows up at the right time and takes care of them. Shortly afterward, the king receives word that the dragon is holding his daughter hostage inside the castle. The king returns with all his knights and surrounds the palace. He demands that Letty returns his daughter to him. Unknown to him, everything going on is a misunderstanding. Nell tells Letty and Diria that she is not ready to go back to her father. Diria decides to mount a line defense against the knights. They seal all doors leading inside the palace except the one that connects to the drawbridge. When the soldiers make their way into the castle, Diria hires gnomes to shoot stone pelts at them. They believe that the soldiers will give up at some point and leave. They soon realize that the king is not ready to give up. Once it gets late, the gnomes abandon their positions and leave. This gives the soldiers the opportunity to breach the castle very well. Later that night, the king begs the dragon to release his daughter. He says no treasure compares to his daughter. When Nell hears these words, she is moved to tears but still not ready to return to her father. I cannot believe this girl is holding a grudge because of a cupcake. Moments later, the soldiers breach the castle. The king sees Letty and chases him down to a room. Upon entering the room, the door is sealed with a magic spell. The king finds his daughter inside the room, and the duo gets to have a heart-to-heart discussion. Nell finally forgives her father for eating her cupcake when he promises to get better ones. Nell then explains everything to his father, and the king thanks Letty for saving his daughter. Nell says she wants to follow Letty on his house hunting adventure, but the king refuses. Meanwhile, the soldiers are trying to get the door opened. To prevent a clash between the soldiers and the dragon, the king gives Letty a fairy dust potion. He says the potion will allow him to fly till the magic wears off. Letty takes the potion and Nell kisses him on the forehead. The duo promise to see each other in the future. The potion works and Letty gains the temporary ability to fly. He is excited that this is the first time he will be flying. He says goodbye to Nell and flies Diria and Pip out of the castle. As they flew away, the king wished them well. Nell also reminds him to land before the magic wears off. During the flight, Letty says some exact words that Varney spoke to Diria during their journey together. Varney once told Diria that the world is a very fascinating place to be.